This is an overview of Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is, in my view, a very interesting chapter because the focus is on gender and our ideas about how we think about people based upon how they look. And so in this chapter, one of the most important concepts or ideas that you will learn is the fact that sociologists view gender as socially constructed. Remember, we saw that term, social construction of race, in previous chapter. This idea that gender is socially constructed, of course, means that society has decided what it means to be a male, what it means to be a female. Society has expectations about how we are supposed to dress, talk, walk, act, the things that we're even supposed to do for a career or just in general. And this chapter, I think, is fascinating because it really helps you to begin thinking about all the ways that you have acted, the ways in which you dress, the ways in which you talk, etc. You may have always just thought, well, this is just how I am. This is just who I am. But the reality is, you learned a lot of that from society, from the social environments around you, of course, from your family and your friends and the media, etc. And yes, you are a unique person. I do not mean to suggest that you aren't. However, all of us as unique individuals are still typically influenced by the social environments around us. And so this idea that gender is socially constructed is a really important one, and one that I hope as you read through the chapter, you think about how your own gender and how you, quote, do gender is influenced by the people around you, by the social environments around you. You will also think about gender norms, what we think of as normal for males and females to do, and the fact that a lot of this comes from media, and in particular, particularly for younger individuals, say born after 2020, a lot of that is from social media. For people like me, of course, less so from social media, but of course, we had media too, TV, magazines, etc. A lot of that is images and ideas that people, organizations, advertisers put in front of us that perhaps persuade us that we should be acting one way or another, or doing one thing or another, or dressing one way or another. Also covered in this chapter is the idea of intersectionality. Again, I think we covered this in the previous chapter, that we are more than just one thing. I'm not just a woman. I'm not just brown. I'm not just an instructor. I'm not just a lawyer. I am also a runner. I am a spouse. I am a Thea. I have a lot of different identities, and all of these identities overlap with one another. I can't necessarily separate out being a female, being a woman, from being brown. I'm a brown woman. Those two things are inseparable for me. You'll also learn about gender inequality. Of course, just as in the previous chapter, it can occur on 3 different levels. The individual level, how do I think about men? How do I think about women? What kinds of things do I expect? And do I judge people in certain ways because they don't act the way that I think they should? And then, of course, the interactional level. When I am interacting with someone, do I say things or do things toward that person based upon how I think about them in terms of their gender or lack thereof? And then, of course, at the institutional level, within our social institutions, within education, within the workplace, within politics and government and healthcare, etc., how does that gender inequality affect all these different areas of people's lives? There's a video I put into the module that discusses how men are affected by gender inequality. Um, we always think about, well, we often think about gender inequality as only affecting women, but it does also affect men, and there's a section in the text that discusses this. But in the video that I posted, there's also a discussion about how it affects men on many different levels. So I hope that you do take a look at that, because I think it's quite interesting, so that we're not only thinking about gender inequality as being something that affects only women, but also, of course, men. And there's also information in the text about intimate partner violence. We used to call it domestic violence, but of course we recognize that violence against males and females can happen outside of the home as well, when people don't live together. So again, I hope that you find this chapter fascinating. I hope that you really think about your ideas of gender, where those come from, and how you think and feel about people who might be non-binary or gender non-conforming, etc.